I'm not sure. Jonathan is flesh and blood. I can deal with him. He has strengths, weaknesses. You know, he's got good aspects. Maybe he's got a few weaker aspects. But you can. But I'm not sure he's a king or a high priest yet. He's probably he's a high priest in the way he behaves in purifying the temple. Anyway, let's go back to Maccabees 2 and take a look at these martyrdom episodes, because they're really, really important. You see, after the people in the caves who don't defend themselves on the Sabbath in chapter 6 are wiped out, and Maccabees 1, as you recall, has the ruling that Mattathias makes that we must defend ourselves on the Sabbath, otherwise we will all be wiped out. So Maccabees 1 answers that question and gives the answer to that question to Mattathias, its progenitor of the family. I'm not sure how Maccabees 2 handles that issue. It's just they realize that they have to defend themselves on the Sabbath. So right after they're wiped out in 6:1 to 11, we get 18. This is where we left off last time. Eleazar, one of the foremost teachers of the law, already advanced in years, but would not eat pig meat, pork, swine flesh, whatever, following the law. But rather, 19, he resolved to die with honor than live disgraced. Most people tried to urge him to do this because the king had demanded that this was the way. Now this is, I'm not sure. Here's another one of those episodes. Is this an historical episode or a literary episode? Same as Jesus and others. I think this is a literary episode. Can I place Eleazar historically? I'm not sure. Someone may have done this. I'm sure a lot of people did this. But can we focus on him totally as a historical person? I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter. The point of the episode is to do what? Here's the point of the episode. But having taken a noble decision, line 23, worthy of his years, and the dignity of his great age, and the well-earned distinction of his gray hairs, worthy to his impeccable conduct from boyhood, and above all, the holy legislation or law established by God himself. So, this book wouldn't get on too well with Paul. Was Paul's picture of Moses putting a veil over his face so that he didn't want the people to know the light of the law had gone out. I read you last time in 2 Corinthians, that wouldn't go down here with this book. I want to keep pointing it out to you because to me that is the whole crux. What's going on in this period. The crux between those willing to die for the law and the and those willing to abandon it and go over to Roman Hellenistic lifestyle and way of life. You say, what? That the New Testament's about that? In the context of this period in Palestine, yes. Because the context of this period in Palestine, as the gospel is presented, I'm not sure they're historical. Jesus basically abolishes the law. Sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he does. The picture is confused. But the believer he has. But Jesus' followers don't seem to understand that he has. And in fact, only Paul seems to know that he's done this. Because when Peter is supposed to eat with a Gentile, as I've told you in Acts 10 or so, when the Roman centurion sends a messenger to him, Peter says, oh no, I have never eaten any unclean thing or with any unclean person. And then a voice from heaven cries out, what God has made clean, let no man call profane. And Peter has to be called 3 times before he understands this. We see the point I'm trying to make, whether historical or not, if Jesus had taught that, Peter's close associate should understand it. But he doesn't. At least that's what Acts knows, that he doesn't. And therefore, Acts needs to give him a Pauline vision in order to make him understand this. The only one who understands this is Paul. Paul in 1 Corinthians says that, for me, there are no forbidden things. There are no unlawful things. And in Romans, we hear the law he recognizes as Roman. And elsewhere, he calls people who follow the law, worry about things, forbidden things and forbidden foods, he calls them weak. They have weak consciences, he says, in both Romans and Corinthians. That's why it's necessary to read Paul. He says, some people are so weak, they'll do what? Only eat vegetables. What? Give me a break. It's weak to only eat vegetables? Yeah, for Paul, it's weak to eat vegetables. Only eat vegetables because you're so interested in purity matters. You're basically following the law to the nth degree. You wouldn't even, you don't want to be polluted in any way, and therefore, like Judas Maccabee here, you'll only eat vegetation things because you're not even sure if the sacrifice has been, is valid anymore. And who's the big vegetarian? Well, of course, the leader of the Jerusalem church, James. So who's that an attack on? Some people are so weak they only eat vegetables. I do it in my other classes. It's an attack on James. But of course, you won't hear this in any church. Because if you did, all the churches would fall to pieces. You can't possibly teach this in church. It's in the books. If you want to find it, it's there. But why can't you teach it in any churches? Because churches are interested in solidarity, same as synagogues are. Churches are interested in the cohesiveness of the community and people feeling good in the saved community that they're part of. You can't then start deconstructing the community. So obviously you're not going to get this in any church. You only get it in universities, some universities, where people who teach the courses are not theologically minded first, but are what I would call historically minded or critically minded. In any case, I want to keep on in that way. I'm only saying what Eliezer says is 180 degrees opposite to what the Pauline letters said. You say Jesus is in the middle somewhere. I'm not sure where he is. Because James and Peter don't understand what Paul seems to understand. So I can't tell you. James's followers are zealots for the law. Galatians says when James's followers, Galatians chapter 2, come down to Antioch, Peter stopped keeping table fellowship with Gentiles for fear of the party of the circumcision, those who were putting circumcision attachment to the law first, which was the